Hello and welcome everyone to the fourth and for now last webinar of the Youth for Digital Sustainability program. Today our topic is, as you might know, sustainable internet governance. Together we want to explore the opportunities and maybe also the challenges for the internet governance ecosystem going forward. Starting in the early 2000s, a lot of processes and stakeholders have shaped the space, and we are at an interesting point after the UN Secretary General's high-level panel on digital cooperation has come up with recommendations on how existing structures might be adapted. And we also want to, from the perspectives of young people, especially who shape internet governance spaces, look into the role of youth and how we can create a sustainable and accessible governance of the internet, based on all the work that has already been done in the past years. Before we dive in, I may quickly introduce myself. My name is Elisabeth Schauermann. I am a Policy and Communications Officer at the German Informatics Society, and I coordinate the Youth for Digital Sustainability project. This project is kind of a direct follow-up process to the 2019 Global Youth Internet Governance Forum Summit, which was also introduced by the German Informatics Society here in Berlin and was a sort of host country initiative to the 2019 Internet Governance Forum, which took place in Germany last year. In 2019, in a process that spanned over several months, over 100 young people came together, first remotely and then also in Berlin, to co-create the youth messages, which was a set of short recommendations towards the different stakeholders of the Internet Governance Forum. And we also had messages regarding the effective youth participation in this space. And I'm happy that this year we can take a step further in this journey. And we have gathered a group of very engaged young experts who are shaping the space and will build on the messages and develop new strategies and new approaches. Just on the process and the program overall, so we connect now in this process 53 young experts from 32 countries in a decentralized way. We have gone fully virtual, as many had to do this year based on the current circumstances and the pandemic, but this opens up a wonderful opportunity to really work together across different countries and time zones on a joint policy effort that we are doing here. These 53 people are working on four key questions of a sustainable internet. We have already looked into the environmental effects that come with it. We have looked into the economic side of how to do business online and digitally in a sustainable way. Last week, in the last webinar, we looked into the social impact of the internet, and now we want to focus on its governance and the processes that come with that. In each working group, there are between 10 and 15 young people who are very knowledgeable and come here as experts in their fields. We are working in a transdisciplinary approach, and the outcome of all of this will be messages and recommendations towards the Internet Governance Forum and other processes in the realm of digital sustainability. I want to briefly show you all of our working group members, or at least those who had submitted their pictures in time. And they come from many different professional, academic, activist, and regional backgrounds, and their expertise and experience in diverse fields allows us to take a very holistic approach towards the topic of digital sustainability. As I said, there are 4 topical streams for working groups, and this is the last webinar of 4. We will put all of the other recordings on our website that you can also see here. And if you follow us on Twitter, you will be updated. And there we have also introduced all of our working group members before the webinars, so you can go back and look what they are working on individually. With that being said, I can now proudly present you the Working Group Sustainable Internet Governance. You see here that we are working on different levels of questions on how to introduce digital sustainability as a topic into internet governance spaces, but also look into the sustainability of internet governance. You can see here, and almost all of them are also now here in the webinar: Annette, Aiden, Predipta, Joanna, Chris, Mariam, Mariana, Megan, Nicholas, Noha, Sama, Stanley, Valeria, and Veronica, who co-create this WebTalk and will then afterwards go into a policy hiatus in which they work on, as I said, recommendations, messages to be presented at the Internet Governance Forum. But before we hear from these bright people and also our guests, who I will introduce in a second, those of you who have joined us as participants to this webinar, you can leave your questions and remarks in the chat. And it would be much appreciated, because in these 60 minutes that we have, we might not be able to go back to all of your questions and statements, but they will serve for the working group as a basis for their further work. So if you want to point out, question something, or bring up a different perspective, please do so in written form, and I will hand over all of your inputs to the working group when they work on their policies. But to kick off for real now, it is my great pleasure to give the floor to Jengitai Masango. Jengitai is the Program and Technology Manager at the United Nations Secretariat for the Internet Governance Forum. And he will give us an insight into the history and the progression of the Internet Governance Forum and what's in store in the upcoming months and years. And also maybe Jengitai can touch upon what role youth has in the structure. And thank you for joining. The floor is yours. If you go over time by a lot, I will turn on my camera. This would be a sign for you to wrap it up. But we are happy to listen to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And I'm happy to be here. And I'm also quite happy to see the range of people that you're involved in, and you're doing very good work. And the youth are very important. I mean, as you know, that our prime objective is to facilitate open and inclusive discussion of public policy issues pertaining to the internet in a bottom-up and multi-stakeholder manner. This requires active participation, or should I say proactive participation. The onus is really upon the participants to come in and make their voices heard, and the onus is on us to make sure that those channels are open, and people who do want to make their voices heard can do so, and there's no barriers for that happening. And as I said, the internet started as a collaborative effort, and as we go on, it should continue to be a collaborative effort. We shouldn't just wait for either, the United Nations or governments or the technical community to lead the way. All the stakeholder groups should lead as well. It is a collaborative effort, and if we want good policies, people should be able to give their views during the policy creation process. The youth is a very important part in this. After all, I think if you separate the difference between the youth and the adults, I think the youth there's slightly more youth in the world than there are adults, especially if you look at Africa, South America, and Asia, which is the majority of the population in any case. And as well, the youth are the present and future leaders. The youth shouldn't think of themselves as future leaders. They are also leading now in what they do and in what they say. Now, just a a quick overview. As you know, at the IGF, we do have quite a number of youth IGFs. We have 22 in total, and these are mainly the country, the national IGF, but as well we have the regional IGFs. I mean, Africa as a region, the Eurodig region, Asia, and South America. We don't have any youth organizations, unfortunately, in North America, Australia, and New Zealand, but we still want to do that, but we do want to expand because we do know that there are regional differences within the regions. So, for instance, you know, everybody in South America that does not face the same problems. I mean, there are those small island developing states in South America which have very different kind of topography, very different type of issues, rather than you would find, let's say, in Brazil, for instance. And the same goes for Asia, the same goes for Africa, and also in Europe. I mean, the problems and issues in Germany, for instance, may not be the same as the problems and issues in Moldova. So we do encourage national youth organizations as well, and we do provide support for those as well. And as you know, with our national IGF, we have 91 national IGFs, and this is not including, of course, the regional and sub-regional IGF, like the Arab IGF, the Asia Pacific IGF, etc. And all these do require a strong youth presence and to make the youth voices be heard. At the IGF, what we've done, because in the Berlin IGF, there was a very strong youth voice saying that youth should be included as panelists, should be included in the processes, etc. We have taken the baton, as it were, and continued the work from last year's IGF. And Elizabeth as well was a very strong voice in that, and she is helping in 2020 the IGF and the IGF Secretary to continue that work that was started in the Berlin IGF. And we're working with the Polish IGF, and we do plan to also work with the Ethiopian when we go to Addis Ababa, and Japan as well, IGF, to continue this very strong youth stream and hopefully answer some of those questions, or some, I wouldn't like to call them complaints, but some of those statements that were made during the closing session of the open mic session of IGF in Berlin. So just to give you some slight overview, for IGF 2020, we have a series of engagements with the youth. Sorry, my eyesight is failing me, so I'll just zoom in a little bit. So we do have, we did have 11th May, the first outreach webinar, which was done in 11th of May. And then we have the next webinar, which is going to be on the 21st of September. And then webinar number 2, 14th October, 30th, followed by a youth summit at the IGF 2020 meeting, which of course is going to be a virtual meeting because of the current COVID situation, as you can see. Now, we do have a survey that is now on the IGF website, and that survey, I think the deadline for that survey is going to be the 15th of September, and we are asking all youth to go there. Unfortunately, I don't see a chat. I will drop the link in the chat. I see it. I'll drop the link in the chat, and we're asking all youth to go there, and this will help us formulate a good program for the youth. As I said, we do want a program not in a top-down way, but of course in a bottom-up collaborative way. So here's the link, and we do ask those people, youth who are interested, to go there, tell us what priorities you're looking at, what are your interests, so that we can better formulate the program that we are having. And of course, please feel free to either contact myself or to contact Anya if you want to have any questions about how this is going to be carried out. Just also to touch upon what we've been doing this year, starting off with our intersessional activities that we've had, is that we've also been having our best practice forums, which touches on issues of cybersecurity, gender and access, which is very, very important. The Secretary General has talked about a lot that they do want gender equity. And so that's very important. And also access. I mean, in these times of COVID-19, I mean, it really has separated the haves and the have-nots, those who have internet access and those who don't have internet access. And those people, you know, in education, health, all those things work as well. I mean, those people who don't have internet, it's more unsafe for them than those who have cheap internet access. So those ideas and ideas of the youth are, as I said, very, very important. Wisdom comes from everywhere. It not only comes, you know, from old people, but it comes from young people. It comes from everywhere. So please make your voices heard in these best practice forums. You can go to our website and just click what you're interested in. As Elizabeth said, there's many of you with lots of expertise and starting out in lots of areas that are of interest. So, you know, there's local content, there's data and new technologies in the internet context, etc. And then we also have dynamic coalitions. We do have quite a lot of dynamic coalitions, as you can see, quite a list here. And I am sure, you know, there's network neutrality, which has been going on for a number of years. There's schools of internet governance, as I said, small island developing states here. There's the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance. So, I mean, this is one begging for youth participation. There's lots of different health technologies. So we are asking you, please come to the IHF website, go into our intersessional activities and look at the dynamic coalitions. Join these dynamic coalitions. Let it not just be a bunch of old men and a few women who come in. Let's have the youth as well come in and contribute to the global discourse on these. Now, as Elizabeth has also stated, that there has been quite a few new developments that have come in the past year since the Berlin IGF, the United Nations Secretary General's roadmap on digital cooperation was published, and it has these key areas that they're looking at: achieving universal connectivity, ensuring digital inclusion, protection of human rights online, promoting trust and security, digital cooperation, AI, etc. And most of the consultative processes are finished. The one that has not quite finished yet is, of course, with the digital cooperation, and we do have the IGF Plus. The roadmap has put in a bunch of pointers, but we are looking at champions. And champions do not have to be governments, they do not have to be companies, they can also be youth people. I mean, one person can make a difference. A group of people can also make a difference. For the digital cooperation, the champions was Germany and the UAE, but we can also have sub-champions working at the national, regional, and global level. As the United Nations Secretary General said, we shouldn't just depend on people. This is a group effort, and we should be trying to uplift all of us up into the digital age, and also to take advantage of the benefits of the digital economy and this new digital era, and also warn and help people to avoid the pitfalls of the digital age. Now, coming down to just making sure that Elizabeth hasn't shown her face yet. Yes, okay, she hasn't. That's good. Coming down to what we have for the IGF, the virtual IGF. As I said, it's virtual this year for the apparent reasons. And the main theme is Internet for Human Resilience and Solidarity. The main themes are data, all forms of data, data privacy, as we go with this location tracking, etc., health information, data, all those things to do with data, inclusion, how can we include those people who are marginalized into the digital environment and the digital economy. And the new one that we have is environment, which goes to sustainability as well, because you have to take care of the environment. And we're working closely with the UN Environment, or United Nations Environment Program. And they will be having a number of workshops, a high-level session as well. And I would also invite the youth to particularly look at this new, well, I'll call it a new topic as far as the IGF context is concerned. And I'm very happy to see that also this webinar series has got sustainability in it. So this is a very important topic. And then we have trust, which covers all issues with security, fake news, etc., which we've had for a number of years at the IGF. The motto, so to speak, is virtually together, because even though we are physically distanced and we have to maintain that physical distance until this current crisis is over, we can still be virtually together. Just for the structure of the IGF meeting, we do have day zero events as usual. So it's going to be in two phases. The first phase is 2 to 6 November, and the phase 2 is 9 to 7th of November. During the first phase, we do have the normal day zero events. We have the thematic introduction sessions, which we started off last year, and we also have the newcomer sessions. So these sessions are not just for newcomers. We also want people who were newcomers last year to come in and share their experiences, share while it's still fresh in your mind, how did you manage to navigate yourself through the IGF, what you wish you knew before you came in, or what you wish somebody told you in the introductory session. So this is an open call for you to come and help us bring in the new batch of people and make their introduction into internet governance easier. We have the regular open forums, and then we also have the other preparatory events, and we also have a virtual IGF, which we are going to have a virtual IGF village, sorry. So same thing as we had, but it's going to be virtual, and we will still have the music night. I'm sure most of you enjoyed. I mean, there was a very good rendition of a couple of songs by the youth in the Berlin IGF music night, and I hope we can have an online one for the music night, because this also brings people together, gets people to relax with each other, and so that they can talk about the issues that matter on internet governance easier, and it also builds trust. And phase 2 is where we have the high-level sessions, the opening and the closing, the workshops, and the parliamentary session, and also networking sessions. But as I said, there is still going to be networking sessions in phase 1 as well. For the high-level leaders track, as I mentioned, we are going to have these tracks. We're going to have social developmental implications, health implications, economic implications, environmental implications, and security implications. And the theme for the high-level leaders track is internet governance in an age of uncertainty. And here it is not just for high-level leaders. This is just not just for ministers, heads of organizations and CEOs. We are going to have those, yes, but we are also going to have the youth voice. And we are going to have a youth person in the opening as well. And I think that's also something that I may talk to Elizabeth about to see whether or not she has any suggestions that we can incorporate, some, rising star that we can move in that session. We're going to still keep the same motto, which is virtually together. So that's the end of my presentation. I'll just, to recap, is that we at the IHF Secretariat, we are facilitators. We don't tell people what to do, what issues they should focus on, etc. It's a bottom-up collaborative process. So we want to hear from the stakeholders, all stakeholders, the youth, the old, the middle-aged, marginalized groups. We strive for gender equality as well. And we would, if you show that you have an interest, we will try and help as much as we can. And for the national and even for regional initiatives, we do provide some funding. We also provide some infrastructures like, Zoom accounts, etc. And if you do want any of those, please feel free to either contact myself, contact Anya Gengo, who I'm sure you all know, and also, or you can just send an email to igf@un.org. With that, I'll stop there. Oh, she's there. I was covering her up.
Hi, Cengiz. Thank you so much for your input, and I didn't interrupt because I think it was very important for us to hear and also get an idea of how it may be different this year, how this new topic of environment could be a factor in our work that we're doing together, and also for those in the group who have not who don't come from an internet governance background or have not been so involved in these processes, to get an idea of how this could look like. Thank you very much for your input, and if we are short on time at the end, I would take the freedom of maybe going a bit over time, if that's all right with everyone. But with this, I would like to give the floor to our next external guest, Antoine Verne, who is Director of Strategic Partnerships at Mission Publique, and Mission Publique facilitates global citizens dialogue under the title of We the Internet. And Antoine will give us a few insights into their work and how they contribute to the progress of internet governance spaces. Antoine, the floor is yours. If you could keep it to 10 minutes, that would be amazing. But we are very excited to have you and listen to what you want to share with us. So go ahead.
Can you hear me well? Is the sound good?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, very good. So hello everyone. Hello Elizabeth. Hello Changetai, and to everyone. So yes, my name is Antoine. I'm working since 10 years at Mission Publique. And Mission Publique, we don't come from the world of internet governance and internet. We come from another world, which is a world of deliberative democracy. And since over 20 years, we've been working on the fundamental question on how do we create governance, modes of governance that are fit for the 21st century. Our conviction is that the modes of governance of the 20th century, being the representative democracy, the opinion polls, the question of multilateral discussions, is not fit to the task when you look at the challenges we have today as humanity. But it's not only it's at global level, but also at local level. If you take an example, the example of climate, it is a question of governance for the local level, regional, national, and global level. And the same goes for internet. So for us, the question is, how do we create ways of governance that are up to the task when we have a world which is uncertain, as you were mentioning, Changetai, and I think the past months have shown that we need ways of governance that are agile and that are inclusive. And our job or our mission is to try to design, test, evaluate those modes of governance. Particularly, we've been working with deliberative democracy, and we've been working with a lot of cities, governments, and the European Commission, and at global level. The way we normally work is so our goal is to engage ordinary citizens. Ordinary citizens, meaning people from the street, people that are non-expert, non-specialist, non-activist on a topic, but we want to give them a voice. And how we do that is we usually randomly select a group of those citizens so that they represent the diversity of their region, of their country, and we let them meet and take time with another to discuss. And on top of that, we give them information on the topic at stake, because those topics are complex. So of course, if you ask someone in the street what they think about climate change or what they think about the Internet Governance Forum should look like, of course, people won't know. So we want to give participants the key to understand the topics. And when they have that, we ask them to elaborate on prioritization, on recommendations, but also to take position on policy options, for example. And that's once we have the results of that, we feed that back into the governance process. So the key are a diverse group of citizens that are non-expert, non-activist, non-engaged, because these are the users, these are the majority of the people in a way. We give them the key to understand the topic, and then we ask them for their opinion. So what comes out of it is what we call the enlightened opinion, or deliberative opinion, or the public judgment. And we've been working with that, as I was saying, since over 20 years at Mission Publique. And years ago, we took as a crazy bet that we should do that for internet governance, because we were thinking, okay, this is one of the major common good of humanity. It's everyone is impacted by it. Even if you don't have it, you're impacted by internet and at large. So the question around digitalization, but citizens don't have a voice. You have the civil society speaking in behalf of the government, speaking in behalf of and the private sector, of course. So you know them very well. You are the expert on that. So our take was, okay, what if we would include people from the street into that discussion? And that's what we started 3 years ago. And now we are at a point where we are going to do it. And we are deploying on October 10 a citizens dialogue. Today, I saw the numbers. We are going to have the dialogue in 76 countries. So it's a very good number. It's a huge scale we have been able to reach. And we do that because of our network of national partners. So in each of those countries, we have one partner who is taking care of organizing the dialogue. So recruiting the citizens, translating the information materials into their language, running the dialogue itself. So the format we have for this year is 1 day. And for some of them, it will be 1 online day because of the COVID situation. And for other, it will be face-to-face. So the situation is evolving everywhere. And we are going to see what's happening. The interesting, so the topics we are going to address with the citizens are, first of all, the question of digital data, so the question of data and how they see how they consider that data should be handled. The second question is about disinformation and which kind of tools to fight disinformation they find the most relevant, the most interesting. The third topic will be the governance of artificial intelligence. And the fourth one, which is a more open topic, is the future of internet governance. So how they, basically what they think, who should take which decision. And that's the discussion we want to have with the citizens of the world. We will feedback the results in at IGF 2020, but also later. Our idea is that long-term vision is that if we talk today about the future of internet governance, our vision is that this becomes part of internet governance, because citizens are one of the major stakeholders. They are not represented. So by using such a proxy as a deliberative democracy, we can get their voice. But also, and that's the interesting part, when you use deliberative democracy, is that also citizens enter the complexity of the topics. What you know is you often have citizens saying, okay, politicians are good at nothing. The companies have only their economic interests in mind. Civil society is too weak or too idealistic or whatever. But then they start entering that process of seeing, okay, actually that is the complexity of the topic and the issue. So it's a learning process for citizens, and it's a learning process for experts, for stakeholders, because they see, okay, at the end, when we give the key to citizens, they are able to take a position. So citizens are not only driven by emotions or driven by whatever other simplistic scheme. No, they are ready. They can do it. They need a help, of course, a frame, but they can do that. I don't want to be too long now. I've put in the chat the link to the website and to the teaser we have been publishing today. And I would just say, so really for us, the goal is how do we include citizens in internet governance? Happy to talk about that and how we do it, one thing. Second thing is maybe there is in your country one partner who is on board of that process, and maybe you want to connect in that country because we always want or always wish to help the national partners have an impact in their country. So it's always good to be connected in their country. And that could be it for now, and I'm happy for the discussion.
Thank you, Antoine, for those insights. I find it very interesting and very topical to also look at different methodologies on how to involve people, because as Cengiz has said, this was set up as a very open, inclusive, bottom-up approach, but how to translate this into real life, so to speak. So I'm really happy that you could give us the idea of really internet and how that works. Looking at the time, I would now like to give the floor to the working group and listen to their challenges and their topics. And then maybe at the end, we will have a few minutes for exchange. Right. We are going to hear 4 short inputs, as I said, from 4 different youth initiatives, 1 global and 3 national. And they're going to give us quick spotlights on the topics that they work on and challenges that they might face on a structural level, and how they place themselves in the wider structure of internet governance, maybe in their country, also in the on a global level, if that applies. And firstly, I'd like to ask Noha to give us a brief report on the activities and the scope of the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance, which was also mentioned by Cengiz before, which is a dynamic coalition of the Internet Governance Forum. And Noha is if I'm not mistaken, the African representative in that steering committee. So Noha, the floor is yours for the next few minutes. Would be amazing to hear from you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for our very respectful guest speakers. I'm gonna represent what the YCIG is. The YCIG stands for the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance. It's one of the IGF dynamic coalitions. As Changitai has explained before, what are the dynamic coalitions? They are under the intersessional groups of the IGF. Each dynamic coalition gather people who have the same interests. So the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance is one of them, and it was established 10 years ago. This year is our 10th anniversary. The dynamic coalition was established in the IGF in Sharm el-Sheikh. And why was it established? We think that engaging more youth in internet governance is part of keeping it sustainable, to keep a sustainable internet governance. And it was established to advocate for the voice of children, young people, and young professionals in IG4M processes. So each dynamic coalition has a process to join, but to join the YCIG, you can subscribe to our mailing list. I'll make sure to share all the details after my presentation. And we have channels on all social media. We have a Facebook group, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. And you can share, join the dynamic coalition and share all the projects you're working on, or if you have a published article or research, or even if you have opportunity you want the other youth to know about, you can share the knowledge you have with the other youth on the mailing list or on the Facebook group or any other channels. And you can be active with the YCIG activities. So what do we do as a steering committee member? I'm by the way representing the African region. This year we are representing 4 regions: LAC, Eastern Europe, and APAC and Africa. We are unfortunately missing a representative from the Western European group. So what we do as steering committee members, we contribute to youth engagement in intersessional work at the IGF. We do capacity building. We do capacity building tools for newcomers into the IGF world. We are working closely with the IGF Secretariat to organize the youth engagement activities at the IGF. I believe Chingdai already mentioned the survey the IGF is conducting to know the youth ideas regarding the youth engagement activities in the next virtual IGF. And what we do as well, as I mentioned, we share relevant opportunities, fellowships, and events for youth. And we help strengthen the youth position in internet governance.
Wonderful, thank you, Noha.
Okay. Yeah. So I will give a quick glimpse on what we did this year in 2020. It was a challenge. It was a challenge to have all the work done virtually and to organize our events and work virtually, and to get prepared for the first virtual IGF. We are currently at the beginning of the 2020, we conducting a survey to know the needs of our community members, and based on that, we are organizing our activities. We are also collaborating with other youth bodies like Youth for IG and Youth Observatory, and we collaborated with the Internet Society to provide youth mentors to the mentees, which are the youth IGF ambassadors. and I will share, sorry for taking too long, I will share the details on how to join the YCIG. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, Noha, and I will post that to all the participants in the chat once you have shared the link. So now we've heard from a structure that's very much integrated in the Global Internet Governance Forum. Our next few inputs are, as I said, from National Youth IGFs. And next up, I would ask Pradipta to take the floor. He's one of the co-organizers of the Youth IHF Indonesia. And I hope, Pradipta, that your sound works, because before we've had a bit of an issue. Thank you for joining us. I heard you are suffering from a fever. So if you could give us a quick oversight over the Youth IHF Indonesia and your structures, the floor is yours. We cannot hear you, it seems, although you are connected to the audio. Okay, this doesn't seem to work. I'm sorry. Maybe you can, in the meantime, try to figure out your sound, Pradipta. You can hear me, and maybe this will work in a second. If it doesn't, we will skip your input for now, maybe come back to you in a few minutes, and otherwise you can leave us information in the chat maybe. All right. With that, hopefully Valeria's sound works. We give the floor to you now. Valeria is one of the people behind the Youth IHF Ukraine. And if you could give us a quick insight into what you have been doing, what you're planning to do, and what structures you work in Ukraine, would be amazing. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hope you hear me well. Hello, everyone. My name is Valeria, and for the last 2 years, I have been moderating Youth IGF in Ukraine, and I will briefly talk about issues that we face while preparing and holding the event. Firstly, I would like to say about the involvement of young people in IG processes itself. I mean that we see the need and trend towards interest of youth in internet governance and towards the need for sustainable discussion in the internet governance space. And in Ukraine particularly, there are a lot of different single players from different stakeholders group who are engaged in development and promotion of different topics, for example, digital education, protection of child's rights online, cybersecurity, etc. But this all exists point-wise and is mainly concentrated in large cities of the country. And unfortunately, there is no general network and communication between such players. And this is really an issue that we face and challenge that we face now. And I hope this year we'll try to bring all together online, and to my way of thinking, IGF could be really good catalyst for unification of such stakeholders. Moreover, I would like to say about the access to the internet and to all electronic possibilities. Those who live in rural areas and have lower incomes, they tend to be less connected to each other and less able to afford to use communications to support economic and social well-being. And this is really an issue that we face. For example, this year we will try to attract youth from Crimea to give them the chance and to the platform where they can raise their voice and say it loud about problems they face and to be heard them. And maybe the last but not the least important aspect is inclusiveness. ICT have really significant potential to accelerate the achievement of sustainable development goals, and and we try to engage a lot of different young people. And for example, last year, some students, they conducted research on whether governmental websites are suitable for people with vision disabilities. At the same time, another group of students, of pupils, they created and proposed their version of Youth IHF UA website in compliance with recommendations and norms for people with vision disabilities. And we do really appreciate this a lot, because in the end we had this tangible outcome, which is just great and wonderful practice. And I hope that we will repeat it from year to year, and I hope that we will be able to show these outcomes to you. And in conclusion, I would like to say that while preparing such events, we have an opportunity to trace tendencies among youth, and we see from year to year that the question of sustainable internet governance remains really popular and complex, and that is why our approaches should be also complex and up to date. So thank you a lot for this opportunity to be of such event, and thank you all.
Thank you, Valeria, for the insights and the workings of the Youth IHF Ukraine. I saw that Predipta has joined us in a second persona. Predipta, maybe we can see if your sound works now.
Can you hear me now, Elizabeth?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
With this, I would like to give you the floor for the next 3 to 5 minutes to kind of report on the structures that the Youth IHF Indonesia works in, and what your ideas could be in terms of a sustainability approach, how you're working towards that. So,
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. I firstly would like to apologize for many technical issues that happened to me. I just got catch a fever, so I cannot take my mask off. And I had some bad connection, internet connection around my house, so I have to be reconnected once, and I apologize for that. So as it has been already mentioned by Elizabeth, my name is Pradipta. I am the coordinator of organizing committee of Indonesia Youth IHF. We were established in 2018, and we are one of the recognized initiatives under the IHF Global Secretariat, and I happen to participate in 2 IHF Global Forum in 2017 and 2018, when I got the honor to meet Chengetai and also meet a lot of youth people who also have the same interest in internet governance issues. So what about in Indonesia youth internet governance? We basically name ourselves as the melting pot to gather Indonesian youth voices on internet governance ecosystem. However, because despite of Indonesian youth are one of the largest internet user in the world, they do not understand their role in internet governance. They know that, oh, I can use internet. Internet is good for me. I can post a picture. I can sell things and many else. But they do not yet to realize that their voice matters. Their voice is really powerful to shape the internet governance, and that's what we do. We start our many of activities by doing digital literacy training in collaboration with many stakeholders. We also conduct public polling. Recently, we had the chance to gather public opinion on internet shutdown and freedom of expression. We also open policy dialogue with many of the multi-stakeholders. So we basically gather many Indonesian youth with government, with industries, and many other IHF stakeholders. And we open youth networking and collaboration, as well as turning our event to be a youth showcase, so they can share their experience, they can share what they've done, they can share their interests, and basically share what they have. Because with Indonesia number of population and varied diversity, background, and culture, we have a lot of things to share. So from 2018 until 2020, we managed to create 35 offline and online events organized and participated from November 2018. We visited more than 20 cities where many of the participants are coming from the university, high schools, and some young professional. Roughly, we estimated that there were 1,000 participants attended, and we engaged with many grassroots local communities. What our plan next is to enhance digital cooperation to strengthen youth meaningful participation in internet governance policy making, because we believe that youth are able to provide fresh insight, disrupting the current order. We are adaptable and agile. We're good at learning by doing. We probably do not know in the first place how to use Instagram, but when we were faced with Instagram, we can start to navigate and do many things with Instagram. And lastly, of course, we are present and future leaders. And of course, in doing that, we need to cover many potential problems, which are personal needs of the youth who still have to go to school, manage with academics and their personal life, need to recognize capital and potential of youth, and of course, maintaining the consistency of youth to participate in internet governance ecosystem, because after all, we still have our personal things, and that's one of the key issues to maintain consistency. So many youth can still come and participate in our internet governance ecosystem. That will be all from me. I can share you the link of our initiative. I can share you the link on many of our Instagram, social media, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Pradipta. And if you share anything with us now, I will repost it to everyone as with everyone else. So next up, last but not least, in terms of our inputs today, I would like to now ask Nicolas to take the floor and give us a short input on how the Youth IHF Uruguay is proceeding, and also maybe you can give us a bit of an insight into the larger structures that you're working in and what your plans are for that involvement. Floor is yours, Nicolas.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. I am Nicolas Fiumarelli, computer engineer from Uruguay. I am part of the Youth Observatory and member of the Uruguay IHF chapter. A little of history. In 2016, the Youth LAC IHF was held in Costa Rica with a high school audience. Students of between 16 and 17 years old were invited, and I got fascinated about the volunteer spirit of the organizers, right? And I got really surprised when these young persons at high school were speaking about the domain name system and the internet, and they already knew a lot of things related with the technical internet. So in the same year, in 2016, we created the Youth IHF Uruguay, what is a national initiative, and the goal is to bring the voice of the Uruguayan youth to the Internet Governance Forum in order to be heard by these leaders. In turn, to form a group of young experts in Uruguay, since the new generations will be the ones who bring the new ideas. And I particularly think that the youth, as Brady said, have the capacity to propose disruptive ideas. That is very important. And in particular, in our courses, we include topics like emerging technologies and the internet governance ecosystem. So in November of this year, in 2016, we did our first Youth IHF Uruguay course in the University of Social Sciences here in Uruguay. We offered like free course to students from different disciplines. The topics were like how the internet works, human rights principles, and challenges and opportunities in technologies aspect. And our idea was not to overwhelm these students with complicated acronyms, but to lower the concepts more to the ground, right? And helping to the understanding of key things. This particular meeting ended with collaborative Blackboard when the student proposed a lot of challenges and some solutions. Then in March 2017, we did our second edition of the course where we included some local speakers and adding talks about entrepreneurship in internet and encryption. And we are very happy with the evolution of our courses. We have several lessons learned that we openly share always, and regarding dissemination, the logistics, and well, the contents and the level of maturity. Then in October in 2018, we had our third course where we included artificial intelligence as one of the main topics in the course. And then in 2019, last year, I was elected as Youth IHF ambassador from ISOC, and participating in the Youth IHF Summit Elizabeth mentioned. Again, I was totally surprised about the level of maturity of participants, and the idea of having these outcomes in the form of messages and recommendations is well aligned, I think, with the next steps in the evolution of a more sustainable internet governance. So this year we are working with the Youth IHF Uruguay as a national partnership in the With the Internet process Antoine mentioned, and organizing the citizens dialogue in our country. To finalize, I believe that all the work done we are hearing here is very valuable. We need to continue training the young people and including them in the decision-making processes. After all, they are the ones who use the internet the most. And it's important to continue generating these spaces and proliferating these activities, like at different spaces, regions, countries, and also stakeholders. And in a way to expand the youth community of leaders, but also there is a need to include the unconnected into the discussions. I think that is a key point, and that is our next challenge. In my opinion, this idea of bringing this output as input is implicit in the IHF Plus model that is in the high-level panel, plus the intersessional work are crucial things to replicate in all national and regional IHFs, because it has not happened in the past. I think this high-level panel on digital cooperation brings a lot of improvement opportunities for current processes. That is my speak. Thank you very much for the participation.
Thank you, Nicolas, and thank you also for touching on the processes that surround the Youth IHF Uruguay. And I especially found interesting and insightful what you said about also involving younger people. So expanding maybe also our internet governance view on youth, which is mainly what, depending on which region you're at, would be classified as young adults, but there is definitely value in having different, ages represented. We are already a bit over time, but I would like to now give the working group an opportunity to maybe comment on what has been said or bring forward an idea of their own. So if you have something that you want to share or point out, I would still give you a few minutes to do so. If you want to take the floor, please just turn on your camera and your mic. Make your point. Please be as brief as you can, but I don't want to cut you short because I promised that you would have this opportunity. So if anyone wants to step up, now is your time.
Hello, everyone, and Elizabeth.
Hi, Annette.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to turn on my camera because I'm using my phone and I'm unable to see the option. But I've heard everything that has been said, and I want to thank everyone. But maybe it will also be paramount for us to consider how we can use the SDGs to achieve sustainable internet governance. How the different SDGs through the different lens can be used to achieve SDGs, and also how we can integrate digital technologies in achieving SDGs. Because for me, from where I stand, I foresee a future where internet governance will shape the new economic order. So I feel we need to also factor in the issue of SDGs more. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Important point, definitely. And I'm looking forward to the perspective that you bring in the working group and the further involvement on these questions, because you're right, there's a lot already there that we can build on, and the SDGs are definitely a paramount resource on how to structure our approaches. Okay. At this point, I don't see any other cameras or unmuted microphones. Ah, there is Megan. Hi, Megan. Do you want to also make a point? We cannot hear you yet. You seem to be still muted. Now it should work.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
I hope you can hear me. All right, so I would like to reiterate what our second panelist mentioned. The internet was supposed to be a neutral infrastructure, but a plethora of examples indicate that it has become a politicized arm of control. So as youths in the internet governance process, designing sustainable frameworks, let us not forget to advocate for a decentralized, free, and democratic internet, one that is not dominated by private or state power, but one that serves the public sphere. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Definitely very much agreed that we should always go back to and remind ourselves of the founding principles, so to speak, of the internet. And yeah. All right. If that has been it from your side, dear working group and dear guests, I would like to wrap it up here. Thank you everyone for joining. A special thanks to Cengeta and Antoine for taking the time to join us, give us an insight into the workings and also how we can maybe, as the diverse group that we are, approach our work in the next few weeks. As I said, the working group, based on the status quo that we have now established into several directions, will come together, gather ideas, and based on the most pressing key themes that they identify, then work on recommendations and papers for us to reflect further and maybe also come up with quite concrete and concise recommendations on how to maybe do things differently or what to consider when we work together in this internet governance space. This has been the last webinar for now. As I said, there might be another set of webinars once the recommendations have been established, so we can try and go deeper and also invite guests back in to reflect with us on the outcome of this process. But for now, I would like to thank everyone who has been involved. We'll see you hopefully at the latest at the Internet Governance Forum. As Cengeta has shared, there are different phases. You can find everything on the IHF website. And if you have any other insights, questions, please visit our website and let us know how you want to contribute. Yeah, all the best from Berlin. I'll see you on the internet. Have a good day wherever you are, and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.